check, mic check. What's going on, everybody? Togavor here, and today I'm here for a more serious video. We have a special announcement today for NPL Season 4. I will be announcing the lineup for your Portland Timbers. Drumroll, please. At your starting special wall breaker position, our Mega for this year, sporting a 165 base special attack, also known as the Knight, Mega Gardevoir. Returning from Season 3, our main physical wall breaker forms a powerful fairy core with Mega Gardevoir. We have Azumarill, the Knave. Coming in our third spot of the draft, we have Ramon, who rocks the most powerful jaws in the league. The jack of all trades, he can swords dance, set up stealth rocks, come in as a nice little scarfer to sweep up games. We have Garchomp. As our fourth pick, we have our utility and momentum Pokemon who can defog and volt switch around to gain us as much advantage as possible. Phil the Zapdos. A premier cleaner, he can also sport Technician hidden powers, and holds only one weakness. We have Brock the Scizor. Coming in from the future, the fat fuck that nobody likes, Avex the Cresselia. An absolute beast from other leagues, including the GBA, the powerful Terrakion. This season will be known as Higgs. Coming in as our next pick, we have Straight from the Sun, a Firebug, can sweep your dreams away, Ace the Volcarona. We originally had Gastrodon here, but in a trade with the Atlanta Braviaries, we traded away Gastrodon for Nidoqueen, who will be able to set up toxic spikes and stealth rocks and hold all sorts of nice coverage, as well as take the necessary hits that we need to survive. Returning from Season 2, our premier wall, which we received in a trade from, again, the Atlanta Braviaries, the same trade. We traded away Shaman to get Milotic back on our team. And our last, but definitely most not least pick, we have Daniel. He's another stealth rocker, a power-up punch sweeper, a stopper of everything. Daniel, the Registeel. So now that I've announced, more or less, in what is not even more or less, a terribly cheesy and corny way, it probably sounded terribly, I don't know, it sounded like complete shit. But I'm just going to talk a little bit more in depth about my picking process and how the draft went. So now that you guys have seen that, you can see some kind of coalesced picture of my Mons as came up onto your screen. But, so I picked Mega Gardevoir first overall. Now, as you guys know from last season, I didn't have particularly huge amount of success using Mega Pinsir, except for one game where it went 6-0. It was okay, but I found multiple problems with it. It can never switch into something, which Gardevoir, while it's not the bulkiest of Pokemon, it sports better bulk than Pinsir, and it will actually be able to switch into a few things for us. It's a fairy type, which I mean, fairy types are fantastic in the format, and it can just, there's some teams that are just completely torn apart about it. It's diverse, it can fill a more defensive supporting role with, like, Wish, Protect, Heal Bell if it needs to, and still hit pretty hard, even with an uninvested Hyper Voice. And that'd be something like in a more like if my opponent has a more offensive team, I could bring that if I don't need the investment to KO things. It has decent speed. I mean, nothing better than Mega Pinsir, but like I don't know. I just felt like, and also I've been using my Gardevoir a lot, no you, so I feel like I'd really be able to put it to good use in the format. So to couple with that, I could have franchised Azumarill and kept it for sure without even waiting for it to come back to me, but I was certain that it would come back to me, and I didn't want to franchise it because if I franchised it, that means I couldn't franchise it next year if it did really well for me. So this way I'll be able to, if it does very well, and then it'd be like, you know, usually if Pokemon gets an MVP, it'll be drafted early, its value will go up inside of its league. And so if that did happen to Azumarill this year, which I think it could, with the support that we have around it, it's much better than the support we did last year, as this year, I think I really managed to build around these things much better. And so I think it's going to be a lot of work. So yeah, it's really cool. It hits hard. It pairs fantastically with Mega Gardevoir. There's just the things that it hits. It's a physical fairy type, special fairy type. They kind of can beat up on each other's checks and counters and force a lot of switches from my opponents, which can work with a lot of the other things that I have set up. So my next pick, I picked up Garchomp. Now, I really like Garchomp. And picking Garchomp here, I kind of regret somewhat of a hindsight looking at it, because I really wanted to get Jirachi, but going forward and seeing how our draft picked out as I get into other things, I think it really was for the better, because it allowed me to get things like Zapdos, which I think had I picked up Jirachi then Garchomp, like, I don't think Zapdos still would have been there. And Zapdos is really important to my team's success, and I did have a lot of plans. I planned these first four Mons, Mega Gardevoir, Azumarill, Garchomp, Zapdos. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to draft them, and that was all I had set in stone. Really, I had those Mons and Jirachi set in stone, and then if I didn't get Jirachi, my plan was to go down for another diverse, bulky psychic type that could do well for me, which I ended up getting a fantastic psychic type that can work with that, as I've already named. But yeah, Garchomp, going into it more specifically, it has fantastic speed at 102. I guess maybe it's not so fantastic, but it's definitely more than serviceable, and it's able to outspeed base 100s, which is really big in the format, so that's really nice. It gets really nice move pool, both physically and especially with things like Fire Blast and such, Surf even. Gets Swords Dance, so it can set up, you could slap a Choice Band or Life Orb on it to hit harder, a Choice Scarf to clean things up. It can be very bulky on either side. It's just a really diverse mod in what it can do depending on the matchup, and I'm really excited to use it. It also pairs pretty well defensively with my Gardevoir and Azu, because it's a Dragon type, and Fairy and Dragon. Fairy Dragon Steel Cores are a thing for a reason. So yeah, I guess that kind of hints you in why I did that. So with my next pick, I picked up Zapdos. I believe it to be one of the better defoggers in draft format. It's really fantastic defogger. It has a surprisingly good move pool with things like Extra Sensory. Sadly, it doesn't get a Grass move. It would be fantastic if it did, but obviously it can run HP Ice, HP Grass to hit pesky ground types. It can Volt Switch around for me and give me, like I mentioned in the introduction to my team, it can give me momentum. It can Baton Pass around. It can U-turn if my opponent has a team that's littered with ground types. That's really nice. It's really nice that it has, at 100 speed, it can run a Choice Scarf, be a fast Volt Switcher, and be totally offensive, or it can run max HP, max defense, 0 speed, min IVs, and outslow pretty much everything and become a very slow Volt Switcher that will guarantee my momentum and is something more powerful like Mega Gardevoir or Azumarill. So in that way, I think it does really provide great support, and typing-wise, it's really nice, because while it does give me another Ice weakness, I don't have a problem with Ice, as you'll see later. With my picks, I have a plethora of resistances for it. But with it being I just lost my train of thought. It's Moon to Ground. I had 3 grounded Pokemon before that. That's really nice. It's weak to Rock, but Garchomp covers that. Like, Garchomp and Zapdos pair fairly well together, minus the Ice, but that's, as I've already mentioned, covered very well with my other Pokemon. So my next pick, speaking of taking on Ice types well, we decided to pick up Scizor. Now, I was really surprised that Scizor was still on the board at this point in the draft, as it's a very powerful Pokemon, and it's just capable of doing a lot. It's, like I mentioned, it can do Technician Hidden Powers, which aren't actually utilized that lot, but I've already done some calcs in some of my matchups, and it gets a lot of surprising 2-hit KOs on very bulky walls that you would just not expect it to be able to knock out in 2 hits, boasting only a 65 base special attack set. But you'll definitely see me roll out a few of those hidden powers as this season goes on. It can U-turn around for momentum, pairing it with Zapdos, which I really liked, those 2 picks back to back. It pairs fantastically with like Garchomp, Azumarill, and itself, and Mega Gardevoir, and that Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Its only weakness, Fire, is taken on by both Garchomp and Azumarill, making that a very strong thing. So if they do want to run that HP Fires, I have things to switch into to scout for that. It gives me priority, which is something that I didn't have a ton of last year, and I kind of regretted. But between Azumarill, between Azumarill and Scizor, that's both stab strong priority moves. I think I'm pretty much covered in that department. It has knockoff, which is nice, and pursuit, which I'm really looking forward to utilize this season. Pursuit trapping is going to be vital to my team's success in a few of my matchups. So next, I was taken aback by this thing was really left at this point. To think about it, it's my 1, 2, 3, 4. It's my 5th pick in the normal draft, and Cresselia was still there, even after how vital it was to the runners-up Atlanta Braveries in Season 2. It was extremely vital to their success that season. It went 17-5 in 14 games. It had the same kill death line as Mega Charizard X. Like, this thing is a monster, and it was still there. I didn't have my Psychic type left. It gives me another ground immunity. I have 2 Fairy types, one of which being Mega Gardevoir. Even though it doesn't resist knockoff, it can't be knocked off because of its thing, so it can take knockoffs okay. And Grass can honestly take a knockoff pretty well anyway, especially if you put a Cobra Berry or something on it. So I think it'll be able to be more than serviceable this season. I don't really have a lot to say about it, other than the fact it obviously synergizes pretty well with my team, and it's another win condition. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you look at my team, everything but Zapdos is has a possibility of sweeping. Like Mega Gardevoir, Calm Mind, or can just break things until they die. Azumarill, same thing. Either even Banded or Belly Drum can just tear apart teams. Garchomp can be a Swords Dance. Zapdos, like I said, not really a big win condition. Most weeks it won't be. But Scizor, it can set up Swords Dances and sweep. Cresselia can set up Calm Minds. And this goes into our next Pokemon, which continues this theme of being able to be a win condition with Terrakion. Now this thing was left, this is my 6th pick of the normal run, and I'm taking Terrakion as my fighting type. I could not be happier. Also, part of the reason for picking Cresselia is we let Lando Eye back in the league, and Dallas, who's in my division, has Lando Eye, so I'm like, give me the Lando Eye counter. He has Gothitelle to pair with it, so he can U-turn into that piece of crap. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I'll survive, that's okay. And, so yeah, that's cool. I got Terrakion. It's gonna tear shit up. It pairs amazingly with my Mega Gardevoir. Like what they break down, like Terrakion takes care of Steel types like nobody's business, and Mega Gardevoir can have some trouble with certain Steel types. One of the things looking at my team so far, between that core is something like, maybe like a Skarmory could take this on, but I have a Zapdos, so I think I'm really gonna be able to deal with opponents' bulk very well with my wall breakers. So coming in at number 8, I didn't really have a big plan of what I wanted to do here, so I just picked the best Pokemon on the table, which I felt like was, what was the best Pokemon on the table? It was Volcarona. I didn't have a Fire type yet. Entei was taken, or I would have taken Entei here, but, thanks, Fog, for sniping that. I didn't mention this, but I almost got Mew when I got Zapdos. That would have been ridiculous, but Fog took that again. So Fog actually sniped me a couple times, but it was mostly on things that shouldn't have fallen to where they did anyway, so I couldn't have been too upset, and it didn't affect my overall draft plan too much. But I got Volcarona here, which, I don't know how I feel about it. I have 2 Defoggers in Scizor and Zapdos, and I'm just to say, like, that's one thing, that's one of this team's possible weaknesses, is that it doesn't have the greatest house support for Volcarona, but at the same time, Volcarona is not a Pokemon that I'm going to be bringing every week. It's not a staple to my team, but it's something that my opponent has to prepare for. Someone looks at my team, 10 out of the other 11 teams in this league, like 90% of teams in general, Volcarona is a giant threat. So they have to be able to have a way to stop it. So even if I don't bring it, it's going to take away from their ability to stop my other sweepers. And that's why I think it's really important. And while it might not even come to more than 3 or 4 matches this season, it'll have a huge effect on my opponent's team and game planning, which I think is really important in my Pokemon. And I think my team does that really well, as you just see so many threats, it's really hard to know what to prepare for in any given week. And a lot of them are diverse as well, so they can be brought in any matchup. So my next pick was originally Shaman, which I shouldn't have done. I should have grabbed my Melodic here in my original draft, but I didn't. I picked up Shaman because I wanted a Grass type, and it was one of the better Pokemon left. But yeah, and I just thought it fit okay with it, but I wasn't super happy with the pick. And then my next pick after that, I picked up Gastron because Trev took my Melodic, and I didn't think anybody else had a reason to take it. And he originally wasn't going to. He was going to take a Alomomola, but he changed his mind because he drafted Blissey, which which makes perfect sense. And so, if you guys aren't totally following this, transaction, whatever, that's fine. But I worked out a deal with him, and I sent over Gastrodon and Shaman, and I got my Melodic and Nidoqueen, and I could not have been more happier for these additions to my team. Nidoqueen gives me a poison type, which I did not have before, so I can absorb toxic spikes without having to defog them with one of my only 2 defoggers, even though I did already have a lot of immunities to it, but it's still nice to have. It can also set up my own toxic spikes, and it has great coverage and can hit really hard with Life Orb if I do so choose it to. So next I have my Melodic, which, oh god, my Melodic's one of my favorite Pokemon in draft format. It can just do so much, it's really hard to take down. It's a mono water type, which is sublime. Like, only having 2 weaknesses in the format and having the book to be able to mirror wall, it's just great. It can take on Lotties, which is really fantastic. I mean, obviously, this year there's 3 of them, but it can take on all 3 pretty well. By my calculations. Thank you, Joel. Yeah, so, yeah, Joel did draft Megalodios, that's why I said that. But yeah, I think it's going to be very strong for us. It's a bulky water type. The reason I didn't want Gastrodon is because I already had 2 other 4 times weaknesses, and like, in a way, having more 4 times weaknesses isn't the worst, because it just lets more people put on hidden powers, like, and distracts them or whatever, I guess. But it's still just nice to have less, and my Melodic isn't really hurt too much, unless it's like a Specs hidden power from a strong special attacker. But even then, it has the special bulk to usually take those. Yeah, I used it to Season 2 with pretty good success. It was definitely one of the better Pokemon on my team then, and I'm very excited to have it back. So the last pick, this is before I had Nidoqueen on my team, or I wouldn't have picked it, but I picked up Registeel. I didn't have a pure Steel type, and I wanted one. I wanted to Blade, but I knew that wasn't going to fall to me. Thanks, Trev. So yeah, I have it. This is something I think you could expect me to drop and pick something else up during free agency. For sure, I'm not going to say what I'm looking for during that, because that'd give things away to the other coaches. But I'm definitely going to be dropping this. Who knows, I might bring it before that. I'm definitely not counting it out if the matchup is right for it. But I can't honestly foresee this coming in. Great use for me. But it was originally just going to be another rocker, so I wasn't forced to run rocks on Garchomp or Terrakion every week, because they want to be offensive Pokemon. But Nidoqueen lets me do that, and it's kind of passive, which I really don't like in Pokemon. I really don't like passivity in draft format. I think it works against you more than it works for you. But yeah, that's my team. Yeah, I'm really excited for this season. I think this is the best draft that I've ever had in a league, even though it's only my 3rd season in a league. It's definitely my best draft. And I think it stacks up well against anything. Personally, looking at the other drafts, I think it's the best draft, which I don't think I could have said about any of my previous drafts. So that's really important. I think I drafted pretty much as good as I could, and the trade worked out really well for me in preseason with Trev, so thank you for that. Anyways, so that's our squad for Season 4 of the NPL. I hope you guys stay tuned for Sunday's match versus the New York Metanks and Razor Wolf 24, and the team analysis video that'll be coming slightly before that. But anyways, guys, I'm Togavor, you're yourself. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you're hyped for this season. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.